people lose their minds when they don't like the result. So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People tend to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a very interesting conversation between Bari Weiss and Harvard professor Roland G. Fryer about his 2016 paper that concluded there was no evidence of racial bias when it came to police shooting specifically. Now, his 100-page study did conclude that there was some racial bias when it came to other kinds of interactions. But when it came to actually police shootings, he did not find any evidence of it. And when he released that paper, it was a mess. It was crazy. He said that he needed police protection for over a month at his home because of all the death threats and everything that he got as a result. Now, if you guys don't know, Mr. Roland G. Fryer is black. And like I said, he's a Harvard professor. He was back then, and he's still to this day. He's an economist. When he put that report out, it was a really bad time. It was right during the 2016 election, Donald Trump. People were telling him to not publish it. And he said, well, look, if the results from my paper said that there was bias in police shootings, could I publish it then? They said, yeah. It's like, okay, are you not worried about the actual proof and evidence that I have? Does that not really matter to you? I guess not. Now, before we get to the clip of the full podcast, here is an article from back in 2016 from New York Times. It says, surprising new evidence shows bias in police use of force, but not in shootings. And you see how that was worded. They led with the one they want to believe first about, well, there is a bias, look at that. But when it comes to police shootings, they put it at the end as kind of an afterthought, as an addendum, and not the actual story. This is, again, 2016 on New York Times. And then this is the actual paper itself, okay? And I will link to this in the box for you guys so you can check it out there. And let's get to the actual clip from the podcast. The full podcast is about an hour and 15 minutes long. I'll link to that in the box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
I collected a lot of data. We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force that wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. And it was in this moment in 2016 that I realized people lose their minds when they don't like the result. So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People tend to like that result.
And they're going to like that one because that buys into their bias. That gives them confirmation bias. They like that. But they don't like things that challenge what they already believed. They don't like things that, because look, if you're the kind of person that's out there talking about Black Lives Matter, all this and that and the third, tearing up neighborhoods, because you think that young black men are just getting deleted by police because they're black, if that is your worldview, and then he comes along and says, well, that's not true, how are you going to really be able to handle it? Are you going to be an adult and really receive the information, really have an open mind and think that, hey, maybe I can read this and see what's going on. He might be onto something. Or are you going to just reject it? And some are going to say, well, look, ABL, there's thousands, maybe not thousands, maybe hundreds of papers that say there is racial bias in police shootings. Okay, let's just say that's true. I'm not sure it is, but let's just say it's true. Does the existence of those other papers automatically disprove his paper? That's not really how that works, but I digress.
But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it.
So he did the study once, took him a year. They found the results that there was no racial bias when it came to police shootings. He does the study again and finds the same result. So this is a meticulously done paper with even more pages of annotations, sources, everything, even more of that than there were actual pages. He wrote a book, essentially.
To make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And then I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page, dense, academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit.
4 minutes is posted. Now, 100 pages, what did it say? 100, 104, over 100 pages with a 150-page appendix. And 4 minutes, somebody says it's BS.
Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, it's the issue.
All this, So the first part was about the whole thing of there was some bias when it comes to police interactions on the street. That was the first part. The second part is there was no bias when it came to police shootings, racial bias. And they want to start hemming and hawing when he's asking, do you believe it? I have my evidence. I have my research. It's not an opinion piece. We did research. I got a team of people. Like, this took a long time. It took a year or more. For the first incarnation of it, it took a year. So what is the problem?
Is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they say, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens.
And he did. And some things did happen, as you're going to hear in a moment.
So it was, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days. I had a 7-day-old daughter at the time. I remember going and shopping for it because, when you have a newborn, you think you have enough diapers, you don't. So I was going to the grocery store to get diapers with an armed guard. It was crazy. It was really, truly crazy.
That's wild. So shout out to Roland G. Fryer, the professor from Harvard of economics. And shout out to Bari Weiss for being the host of the conversation. And of course, I will link to the entire podcast. It's like an hour and 15. I'll link to the entire talk in the description. But that is what you got to go through. Listen, what he went through is what you go through a lot in the community, as we call it, in the black community, when you want to go against the grain and do something different. Oh, you're going to get threats. I done got all kind of threats. I say run up, get done up. How about that? But I'll move on. The point is, you're going to get threats like that. You're going to get people that say they're going to do something to you. And this is an academic publishing a paper. So imagine if you're just like, an influencer or just a regular person on the ground, trying to do the right thing, trying to tell the truth. If it goes against the narrative, if it goes against the grain, you're going to be in danger. So a lot of the times when you're talking about voting patterns and whatnot, it's peer pressure. You don't want to be the odd guy out. You don't want to get threatened. You don't want to get harassed. And just the general behavior. There's a lot of bullying. There's a lot of threats of violence. That kind of stuff goes on. Okay. And it's not just from other black people. It's from other people that may not be black. It's from a lot of the liberal establishment. You want to go against the grain and do something different. You're going to have guys like Joe Biden come on to your show and say, hey, if you don't know whether you're for me or for Trump, then you're not even black. Okay, 1,000-year-old white dude talking at you like that. And then when you want to criticize him, speaking to you, Charlemagne the Guy, Mr. Black Guy on the radio, when you want to criticize him or the administration, You're getting the ringy ding ding from the White House talking about, hey man, you doing too much. You better get in line. Now, what color is the White House administration? So it's not even about black on black. It's about when you go against the grain, when you go against the narrative, the liberal narrative, the political narrative, the social narrative, there could be consequences. And that is why a lot of people are afraid to speak out. From the beginning, when I first started doing my channel, as I close, people were coming up to me in public, sending me emails, all kind of stuff saying, hey man, thank you for saying what I can't say. I got family, I got friends, I'm married, I got my career. I can't be saying stuff like that publicly because all that could be in jeopardy. I'm not trying to lose my life, my house, my career, everything because I want to speak the truth. That's the reality. That's why guys like me are here. And that's why guys like Roland Fryer have to be here as well, to speak the truth, regardless of who likes it. It doesn't matter because the truth defends itself. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what Roland Fryer was saying about the backlash he got for writing this paper? The backlash he got for putting it out. You talking about police protection, colleagues saying, hey man, don't do it. Emails, probably threatening emails, threatening phone calls, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I'm not surprised at all because this is what you go through in the community. This is what you go through when you go against the grain. This is what you go through when you speak the truth. You're going to get a lot of kickback, a lot of negativity, a lot of threats of violence. That's going to happen to you. Police protection for 30 to 40 days for an academic for writing a paper. Imagine that. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.